Hey, Clay County, I want to welcome you to the We Are CCSO initial filming. The Sheriff's Office will be putting out some video called We Are CCSO in about 2-week increments. For those who don't know me, I'm Sheriff Darryl Daniels. My guest here today is Director David Barnes. He's the Director of Personnel and Professional Standards Department, and I'll let him explain a little bit in a few minutes what that entails. And then he and I, as will any other guest on the We Are CCSO filming, show, video, whatever you want to call it, we'll just talk a little bit about the Sheriff's Office and in about 15 or 20 minutes, hopefully give you some tidbits about the Sheriff's Office that you may not have been aware of. And hopefully, if you watch the entire broadcast, you will be more informed than when you initially started watching. So with that, I'll turn it over to Director Barnes. And Director Barnes, if you could just share with the viewing audience a little bit about what the Department of Personnel and Professional Standards entails and exactly what do you do as a director?
Okay, thank you, Sheriff. So the Department of Personnel and Professional Standards is encompassed with HR, employee relations, our accreditation, as well as our internal investigations. So we handle most matters relating to employees as far as the initial hire, the recruitment, the hiring process, getting them onboarded, and also the training of those employees to get them prepared for whatever job it is that they have been hired to do. And then, unfortunately, we follow up on any investigations of wrongdoing of our employees as well, if the need comes up on that.
So, as a director, you've been in the agency how long?
I've been with the Clay County Sheriff's Office 19 years.
And so, in that 19 years, your rank as a director was formerly called something else. What was that?
It was a major.
So there are sheriff's offices across this country, and the organizational chart is situated in a way that sometimes names are changed, titles are changed, and in the Clay County Sheriff's Office, what was or formerly known as a major is now under this administration a director. And this is just for informational purposes. And like I said before, hopefully you'll be more informed than when you started viewing. What was formerly known as a captain is now a division chief. By function, a captain functions as a division chief in the Clay County Sheriff's Office. So we changed the title to division chief. So Director Barnes, at the director's level, the directors are considered the executive staff and our upper management. There are only 2 positions in the agency that are in the org chart that are higher than a director, and that's myself, the sheriff, and the undersheriff. So the directors, they report directly to the undersheriff, and there's only a small handful of directors, and they are very critical in the success of the organization and are part of the, if you will, brain trust. Oh, that's a scary thought. Brain trust to the organization, tasked with making some of the high-level decisions and taking a 50,000-foot view of the agency and the direction that we're going in and make decisions based on that viewpoint. So you talked about internal affairs, and that's a part of your department. And some people think they know what internal affairs does, but if you could enlighten them on what internal affairs is.
Yes, sir. So our internal affairs department is, first and foremost, is we take any complaint or allegation against one of our members serious. And the job of the internal affairs investigators is to investigate those complaints and determine if there is wrongdoing, and if so, whether that is the wrongdoing on the part of the employee, or if maybe it's a policy violation or policy failure that we need to adjust our policies to be more in compliance with things. And then also we do some analytical analysis of the employees and what type of complaints we're getting. For example, rudeness. If we're getting a large number of rudeness complaints, then it's my job as a director to get with the other chiefs and work on coming up with training for our employees on customer service and things of that nature to try to minimize the rudeness complaints and the negative experiences we have with our citizens. My statement here at the Sheriff's Office is selfless service to all, and we want to have a servant's heart. We want our employees to have a servant's heart, and those interactions with our citizens, we want them to always come away positive.
It's very good. We've had some discussions in executive staff about the rollout of our customer service piece within the agency, and you know, you and I know, maybe the viewing audience does not know, that in law enforcement, probably the number one or the number two top complaint in law enforcement or against law enforcement is rudeness. And you speak about a servant's heart, or the fact that we serve in this profession. It's sometimes what happens in law enforcement, folks, and you can't be too hard on us. Sometimes we lose sight, or may lose sight, of the fact that we did take an oath to serve society. And when we swear in as law enforcement officers, the very first thing that we say when we raise our right hand, is, as a law enforcement officer, my fundamental duty is to serve mankind. And there's more to that code of ethics, but that first sentence kind of explains it all. My fundamental duty is to serve mankind. And one of the core values in the sheriff's office is, the very first one is sanctity of life. And I think that everything kind of revolves around the sanctity and the priority that we place on human life, not only as an agency, but in law enforcement. We lose sight of that sometimes over the course of years of interacting with people who are not functioning at their best. And it may be a person's worst moment in life. And over the course of time and years of interacting with people who are in situations of crisis, sometimes we get what we call jaded. And as the leadership of the sheriff's office, we're committed to mitigating that in a law enforcement officer's career path, and putting at the forefront of their minds to be servants, just like the director talked about, and to deliver the best quality of services through good customer service that we can as a law enforcement agency. And while some people may say, how can you deliver good customer service as a law enforcement agency? Well, the people that we interact with, both internally and externally, are our customers, and we have a duty to follow the golden rule, if you will. And these are conversations, you remember us having these. You treat people like you want to be treated. And people just want to be treated fairly. People they want to know that when they talk, that you're listening to them. And we talk about behind closed doors. The undersheriff's made a comment, sometimes we might have to hand out a butt whooping every now and then. And you know what? That's the reality of the job. We get paid to do certain things that we don't want society to have to take care of. And one of the things that we do in law enforcement, or are entrusted with in law enforcement, is the application of the use of force. And even when we apply force, we have to know when to turn that switch on to keep people safe, and when to turn that switch off, and not be overzealous to that end. So I heard you mention accreditation. If you could just expound on what that entails.
So accreditation is being part of a program where all of the practices of the sheriff's office are compared to a standard that's established by whichever commission it may be, whether it's the Communications Commission or the Law Enforcement or the Detention Commission. And basically what those standards are established best practices for the industry or the profession that we're in, and to make sure that we're in line with that. And that in addition to that, one of your directives is for us to kind of set the standards. So we try to go above and beyond that. We put a lot of work into the accreditation process, making sure that we look at our practices and our processes, and not only do they meet the standard of the profession, but sometimes we challenge the standard of the profession to make sure that the standard keeps going to a higher level as well. We do a lot of work in that, and I'm very proud of my folks in that department and what they do with the agency as far as accreditation is concerned.
So as far as accreditation goes, is that just one unit's responsibility, or is that everybody in the agency's responsibility?
It's everybody in the agency's responsibility to participate and follow that standard, and to make sure that their specific areas in compliance with those accreditation standards. But we have a accreditation division that's their job to make sure that we get the proofs necessary when it comes time for a accreditation inspection, that we have the things necessary to document that we are following those standards, and also to educate those of our staff who may not be aware of the accreditation process and the importance of it. Sometimes people are like, why do we go through all that effort? Well, it raises our agency to a higher level, and it keeps us grounded to the fact that, look, there is a standard, and we need to always strive to be the best at what we do.
I like that. I'm pretty competitive by nature, and I like to be the best. I may not be the best at everything, but I'm surely striving to try to be the best that I can be. And I know you set the same standard for yourself. And as an agency, I believe that if we're striving to be the best sheriff's office that we can be, if we're constantly moving in that direction, we're always going to be improving, or it kind of feeds into the continuous improvement philosophy, which is also, one of the things that we really put at the forefront of the employees' minds around here. Enough of all of this strictly business stuff. What do you do when you're away from this place? That's a scary question.
So my hobbies are, obviously, I live on a farm. We raise cattle, and we have horses and chickens and things like that. So when I'm off, I use that as an area to relax, and that's what I enjoy. And one of my biggest passions is hunting. I'm a big hunter, big outdoorsman. I love to fish. So that pretty much consumes my off-duty time, what little bit I get.
I swore one day I was walking up the hall, and I swore I heard you tell somebody you were a cowboy. Are you a cowboy?
Well, the question was, what is a cowboy? And
yeah, what is a cowboy? Because
what is a cowboy? I mean, it's a broad definition. Do I handle and deal with cows and tag cows and doctor cows and take cows to the market? And do I ride horses? Yes, I do all those things. Do I wear cowboy hats when I'm off duty? Yes, I do. Does that make me a cowboy? I don't know. I guess that's up for speculation. I don't live in Texas and go on 7 or 8 day cattle drives. Not that I wouldn't mind doing that at some point, but I feel like I gotta kind of live the cowboy philosophy as far as the way I approach things.
I was just making sure I didn't hear that wrong. So, say you're a hunter, huh?
Yes, sir.
What do you like hunting?
Whitetail deer is my favorite.
Okay, you got a gun of choice. You use a bow.
Well, I do bow hunt. I muzzleload hunt. My firearm of choice is a Browning Bar 270. That's the firearm that I use most when I'm engaged in hunting.
I mean, I know a lot of folks out there in the viewing audience are also hunters. In Clay County, you see folks walking around in camo, and you're not unfamiliar with camo. You wear it, I wear it. I may do a little bit of hunting myself. I shoot at the deer. I don't necessarily always hit them, but I'm working on that part. But for the avid hunters out there who think that they're the only ones who do that, we got folks in this agency who do a number of things when they're away from the job, and hunting is one of those things that we do. A lot of law enforcement officers and folks around this profession do, and it feeds into the skill sets that are needed in law enforcement to be a good law enforcement officer. Good marksmanship is a quality of a good law enforcement officer. Someone who knows how to go extended periods of time without taking a break, if you will. I mean, that's a part of what we do in law enforcement. And, it gives you a lot of time for reflection in hunting and thinking about some of the things that we do in this profession. It's a good stress reliever, wouldn't you say?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Just recently had a conversation about stress in law enforcement and ways to reduce stress, or stress management, if you will, around this profession. What are we doing as an agency or in your department, or what's out there on the horizon for this agency to reduce the stress?
So what we're taking a look at, as far as you say on the horizon, is we're looking at some different programs. Historically in law enforcement, physical fitness has been a requirement, and we advocate physical fitness, and we come up with programs to promote physical fitness and keeping our bodies in the condition that they need to be in order to do this job. Therefore, what we probably lacked is making sure that our brain and our mental capacity has stayed fit and enabled to do the performance of our job. And as we go through this profession, I've been doing it. I'm on my 28th year. I know you've been in it for a long time. We see things that other people don't see. We deal with things that other people don't, and after a while that builds up, and it takes a toll on us mentally. So what we're looking at is some programs where we can promote mental wellness, where we have, whether it be annual mental checks, mental wellness checks, or when an employee is getting ready to retire, we do some kind of exit interview with them and make sure that they have a coping mechanism to try to let that out. And so it does, once they get retired and realize, hey, I'm out of the profession now, I'm not around people that I can talk to. We don't want them to go into some kind of, PTSD environment or something like that. So there's a lot of cutting edge best practices out there. We're taking a look at them holistically and trying to determine what's best for our agency. But we recognize as a profession, we've probably dropped the ball a little bit on promoting mental wellness in our employees.
I'm glad you guys are taking the lead on getting that for our employees. And I know the folks out in the audience, they think that the career path of law enforcement is pretty stressful. And I would agree. It has its moments of high stress and high demand on us as individuals. But what a lot of you may not know is that in this profession, the life expectancy of a law enforcement officer after retirement is only 5 years. And we're trying to do whatever we can as a law enforcement agency to both extend the life expectancy of our employees or employees once they retire, but to make sure that they have good quality of life while they're here, healthy, both mentally and physically. And we're also doing financial wellness. Can you speak to that?
Yes, sir. So the new program we've also started here is a financial wellness workshop. It's a 6-session workshop, and it goes through those things that, some may not hear about as far as insurance, investments, annuities, retirement, how to create a personal budget. I mean, at our level, we focus a lot on agency budgets and building the agency budgets, but when you stop and think about a personal budget, sometimes that goes by the wayside, and as a result, people have financial difficulties. So as part of our financial wellness program, we have started this, and we hope to branch it out to our new hire process when they come in, as well as maybe even in our annual in-service training with our employees. So that, once again, the goal is to keep our employees fit, keep them mentally well, to have a quality of life outside of the job that they can enjoy and make it worthwhile, because you know as well as I do, if an employee is satisfied with what they're doing and they're in a good place, then that helps them be a lot more focused on the job, customer service, rudeness, complaints. They're not having a bad day because they're worried about financial situations at home or something they dealt with the last shift. So if we can promote that total wellness of our employees, the benefits are going to be pretty spectacular, I believe.
Clay County, you've heard it from Director Barnes himself. He's over, again, the Department of Personnel and Professional Standards. We only touched on just a few of his areas, and hopefully, as we wrap up, you're more informed about this agency and this profession than when you first started viewing. And as we wrap up, as is customary around here, we take our 3 big gulps. We are CCSO. It's our new show, and we look forward to talking to y'all again. Thank you, Clay County.